Well, thank you, Frank. No pressure whatsoever. I couldn't find my audio button there for a second. I was getting panicked. So lovely to be here, everyone. I always feel I prefer to be seeing you in person, but obviously that's not always possible. So what I'm going to try to do this evening in the brief time that we have is just give you a feeling for the types of services we have here in DCU for students. Vanita is part of our team. We've got a team of nearly 90 colleagues working within student support and development and really cover the whole spectrum of what you could expect to get from a third level institution in terms of the support and development that you need through your student journey, whether it's right through undergrad or postgrad, and indeed up to a year after graduation in terms of the career service support that they give you. So it's going to be quite high level. There's a huge amount of information online. So do feel free to have a look around the website if you're looking for any specific information, or get in touch with the team afterwards and we can get back in touch with information you may need. Okay, so really there's three areas I'd like to cover. Generally, the student support services, who we are, what we do, what we offer you, how we try to make sure that you stay informed of what's happening within the university. I suppose our biggest struggle is that so much information is being thrown at you because we're all trying to get your attention, and that we have to find ways of making sure that you are informed, that you're informed in time, you know what's happening from week to week. So we obviously have ways of doing that. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the DCU community, what's important to us here. Frank, I think already gave you a flavour of what kind of a campus it is, the fact that we're incredibly student-centred. We're still relatively small, certainly in international terms, 20,000 students is not a huge amount of students, and the campuses are quite compact. So you do get to see staff and students, the same people every day, in terms of kind of being able to bang into people and feeling at home on the university campus. Okay, so SS&D. Really, there are four main areas that we've covered, that we cover, and I'm not going to go into the careers because Vanita has done a really good job of that already. But as far as I would see it, we've four areas. We look at your academic learning and writing skills and provide support at whatever level you may need that support. I saw a few questions in the Q&A there about PhD students. We also support PhD students in the writing skills in the writing centre and in the academic learning support area. The second area is advice and guidance, and that's really anything you need to know about anything. So way back when I started here about 18 years ago, it was clear that students were finding it difficult to know where to go with specific questions, because the university is big and it can be quite impersonal sometimes. So we've developed a one-stop shop where you can go for any question on anything you may need to know, whether that's how to get a bus into town, you're having problems with your program, you need to learn how to cite and reference. So either we deal with this in the centre or we refer you to the right area, and that just demystifies the whole atmosphere and the whole environment for you. We put a huge emphasis on physical and mental health. It's really important to us. For any American students out there, we are the only GED campus outside of America. Apparently there's one in South America as well, but there's certainly no other one in Europe. And I suppose that means really that proves our focus on mental health and physical health, and the fact that student-centeredness is really important to us. And then the fourth area, which is that I won't go into any detail on because Vanita already has, but the careers advice and the professional development which the unit offers. Okay, so a little bit more detail on the four areas. So the academic learning and writing skills support. So we offer this in various ways. It's always a challenge to try and personalize student supports in a big environment, but we try and do that as much as we possibly can. So we continue to offer one-to-one advice to students. So a student can come into the Student Advice Centre, either get an appointment immediately with an academic advisor or make an appointment with an academic advisor. And those conversations can be about anything from, I'm not happy with the program, I'm having problems with this module, I don't understand the credits or how the system works in terms of the program. Obviously, for those students who are maybe international, every system is different. I studied in Vienna in Austria, very different system to Ireland. But as I always say to students, the systems work, they're just different. But just to be able to have one person where you can go, where you can ask your questions, and you can talk about any element of your academics can be a real plus for students. We offer group workshops on an ongoing basis. So that can be anything from presentation skills, how to cite and reference, how to work in groups, and how to work in diverse groups. And then we have 2 walk-in writing centres. So a student might go, and some of you will be maybe coming back to an MA, coming back to education after a break. So many students will do their bachelor's, take maybe a few years out, come back to do their MA, and that might be a little bit rusty in terms of writing an academic paper. So you can go in there with your academic paper, and tutors would sit down with you and work through the paper to see, are your arguments being formulated correctly? Is your citing and referencing right? Are the semantics correct? So basically they'll work through and give you advice. Or you might have an essay that a professor has given you feedback on, and you need to decipher the feedback and understand it and put it into action. And again, they can help you with that. So that will be heavily used by our master's students, rightfully, because as you know, the year goes incredibly fast, and most of our full-time master's programs are 1 year long. We have a 12-week semester, like most universities in Ireland, which means you're in, the essays are coming thick and fast, the assignments are coming thick and fast. So we find that the master's students very quickly will maybe pop into us just to find their feet at the beginning of the semester, and try and get that little bit of advice. As I mentioned, the university can be any institution can be large and a little bit confusing. So we have a walk-in advice centre where student advisors are sitting. Basically, you can sit with them, and we talked about the academic advisors who work through the academics, but they will talk to you about anything. So you might go in and say, "Look, I need to know, I don't know, the quickest route to get to town, or the best place to go shopping, or I need to go away for a period. Can I miss a week in college?" or whatever it might be. So really general questions come through that office. And again, it's the one-stop shop. You can go there for anything. They'll help you settle into university life. We introduced a model of life coaching a number of years ago. So we've got about 15 life coaches trained across the unit. And a lot of the life coaches work deals with setting goals, motivation. One of our clients, as they say, was actually a student in final year who wants to become the Students' Union president, and he became the Students' Union president, so we're very proud of it. But they will offer one-to-one life coaching or group life coaching, generally over 4 weeks. It's a 1-hour session every week, and it can really help students set their goals and reach their goals. We also have an international student officer in there who works and supports the international students. So they'll offer things like global cafes, Christmas parties, tours maybe to various areas around Ireland, and help you again settle in, get to know the country, and understand the system. So I mentioned earlier on that our physical and mental health focus is particularly strong in DCU. So DCU grew from when I started here, we only had just over 1,000 undergraduate students. This year we welcomed 4,000 undergraduate students, and those numbers have risen on the master's side as well. But I suppose with that, we're trying to make sure that we maintain and that we help or support both the physical and the mental health of our student body. So we have a free counselling service, and thanks to huge investment by our health service over the years, our waiting lists are practically zero. So last year, our average waiting list for our waiting time for a student who registered for counselling was 2.2 days, which is quite remarkable. We have a mental health nurse that works closely with our student health centre, and they'll work with students on skills. So a student may be struggling with their mental health, or they may have ADHD or other things which may present a bit of a challenge for a student on a daily basis. And the mental health nurse, so Gertrude, will work with the students, different types of skills to help them through from day to day, from week to week through the year. Any student who has a disability, whether that's mental health, physical, or a learning disability, can register with our disability office. We have about 8% of our student body would come in with a disability of some sort, and they offer a huge range of resources. So apart from being able to refer, and they are also the one-stop shop for students who have specific questions about disabilities, we have occupational therapists who would sit and again work on life skills with students where needed. We have an ADHD support group which meets every week. We have an ethnic minority support group, separate to the disability service, that meets every week. So we try to set up support groups for students who may be like-minded or may face similar challenges to help them through the year. We also have an assistive technologist who works with students again on AT, on assistive technology, to give tools to students to help them with, for example, dyslexia or whatever it might be. So it could be recording devices, any kind of software that might be needed, but there's quite a huge array of resources for students. So in the case of students with disabilities, they simply make an appointment with a disability officer and you'll get that one-to-one to see what you need. Seeing as Vanita so beautifully talked through all the careers resources, I'm going to actually skip on to the next slide. Okay, so apart from the person-centered and the one-to-ones, the workshops that we do, this came out of COVID, probably the only good thing that came out of COVID, but we've developed a really rich resource of online materials. So I think the names probably speak for themselves: academic study skills, career focus, community, digital skills. So behind there, you'll have interviews, for example, with employers. You'll have tips and tricks. You'll have software. You'll have the CV. What Karina called it? The interview platform that Vanita spoke about. All sorts of basically materials which will help you, and obviously it's available 24/7. Okay, so how we try and help you keep on top of university. So, as I said, there's 12 weeks in the semester. In some faculties, there's a week break in between, but generally you come in and it just flies by. So what we do on a Monday morning, first thing that you get into your email box, and we try and make sure it's first thing that you get into your email box, is a student newsletter. So in the newsletter, what we're trying to do is chunk down the year for you. So week by week, we will focus on particular skills or particular areas which are relevant to that week. So there's basically 3 areas we focus on. We focus on some skills development. So this one was taken from 2 weeks ago. Coming up to exam time, we had a whole section on avoiding plagiarism and then links across to the library resources on citing and referencing. We do a career development piece. So that week, 2 weeks ago, was going global. Students are beginning to look to the summer, would you believe, and working abroad. So that information is thrown out. And then we'll have a health and well-being section. In this case, it was extenuating circumstances, and that's for students who may be unwell during examinations. They fill out an extenuating circumstances form, and that allows them officially tell the university, just take it easy and give me a bit of latitude. I'm struggling for whatever the reason may be. And again, what's listed there is just a flavour of what was happening in that week. So the week of 12, 11, of the 10th of November. So you had some well-being pieces, so managing boundaries. You had the pathways, which is the coaching that I was speaking about earlier on. You've writing centre essay exam preparation and tools, again, because we're coming up to the end of semester and there's lots of assignments due. Career and software. Meditation, and then there was a fun afternoon, basically just with craft, arts and crafts. So I know there's been a few questions about finances because I was keeping an eye there in the questions earlier on. So there are 2 websites here, and they are in the resources. I think Frank, you put them into them. Will be well worth having a look to give you an idea for the cost of living. So for those of you who are not living in Dublin, it's not the cheapest city in the world to live in. It can be expensive. And I suppose the big thing is just to be prepared for it and to budget. So that first link there will give you a good overview of what you can expect to pay in rent, what kind of a food bill, telephone bill, travel, etc., etc. So that gives a good overview of that. And then again, there were questions about what scholarships, etc., are available. This link will give you the information about all bursaries, scholarships, financial supports available in Ireland for all students. So the scholarships, the university-specific scholarships will be separate. They'll be on our website, and I'm sure there's probably links in the resources too. But that second link there is what's available nationally. And again, well worth having a look at to see is there something that might be of interest to you. Okay, so broadly speaking, without going into detail here at all, a year in Ireland, a year studying in Dublin, if you're studying away from home, so if you're renting, will cost approximately 16,500 euros. Now that's taking everything into consideration. It's food, it's telephone bills, it's transport, it's clothes, it's books. But that's roughly what the universities in Dublin have. We always collaborate to see roughly how much it costs. So that's a figure that we all came up with based on information from the students and obviously from different resources or from different sources. If you're living at home, is substantially cheaper. So you're looking at about 6,000, 6,500 euros. This obviously is separate to the cost of the fees themselves. Okay, so I mentioned the DCU community, and as I said, it is, I know I'm biased, etc., but it is quite a special community. And because we've grown and we've grown kind of organically, there is a huge focus on well-being across the campus. So I said we had we've 90 staff here, student support, but actually in DCU, student support and student well-being is everybody's business, and people really do take care of each other. So we encourage participation from staff and students. So we ask staff to keep an eye out for students who may be struggling and need some help. We ask students to keep an eye on each other in case they need some help. That respect and dignity is absolutely huge in the university. We have a culture of vigilance, respect, and a huge array of events which we push out through our initiative, which is called DCU Healthy. So literally every single week there will be something, and those events are based on the time of the year. So now coming up towards exams and assessments, and there's huge pressure on the students, we'll be doing a lot of time management, meditation, minding yourself, healthy eating, healthy sleeping, etc. We also have very robust policies and procedures to ensure that if students feel they aren't being treated correctly, they aren't being respected, if there are any problems at all with bullying, etc., that they can very quickly report and get support. And we have something which I feel is particularly welcome for any student going into a new environment. We have an app which staff and students have downloaded on their phones that basically is an emergency app, so that if you fall in the corridor and break a leg and it's 8 o'clock in the evening and there's no one around, you can click a button and our security services will literally come running. And it works because I clicked it one day by mistake and they arrived in my office. So they know exactly where you are, what building, what corridor, what classroom, what office. And it's something that all students have access to the minute they step on campus and are registered in the university. Okay, so just parting tip, as I said, we are very much a student first environment, but we also always say to students, don't wait till week 8 to tell us that you're struggling with something or that you don't like something or you need help with something. Come to us as soon as you possibly can at the beginning of the semester or semesters if you're having an issue or if you need help with something, and we will be able to put something in place. There's rarely something that comes out that we can't help a student with. So our advice would be come to us and come early and reach out and have that chat. So that's the website. There is tons of information in there. So if you have particular interest in particular areas, careers is in there as well. Have a look. If you have questions, get in touch with the guys and they'll get back to you with whatever you may need. And I think that's it. I hope that was of some use and gave you a flavour of who we are here in DCU.
Thank you so much, Claire. I think that is enough proof in the pudding that we really do care about the students more than just the academics, but also about the health and well-being. There is just one question I see in the Q&A that I might just ask you now, just as I'm envisaged, just maybe not being able to answer it at the end. If a student does mark that they have maybe a disability or some sort of issue on their application, is it up to them to then request support, or will they be contacted automatically as a postgraduate student?
So the postgraduate students aren't contacted automatically. We've no right to actually. So you need to then make us aware, and it's as simple as getting in touch with the disability office either by email in advance, which we would recommend. So any student who may be in the wheelchair or have maybe significant needs, we recommend that they reach out to us before they arrive, so we're sure we can support you, we can accommodate you, that the campus is accessible, etc. Students that may have less significant needs, well, they simply just rock up to the office and they can register with the service.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just thought that was one that I might try,
Yeah, good idea.
just
No,
to make
well
sure
done.
we get the
Yeah.
right answer. But yeah,
And
no,
feel free
thanks.
to pass on my email, Frank, if you want, okay?
Perfect. Thanks so much again for